Babysitters of Reddit, what were the weirdest rules parents asked you to follow? I was told that the only thing she specifically wasn't allowed to do was eat a bowl of sugar. I had to change the kid's cloth diaper every 2 hours on the dot. The kid was 6. I assumed it was for some sort of disability or something. But no. His parents just didn't want to potty train him. And the kid was content with being babied. I remember just making the kid put his own diaper on and encouraged him to use the bathroom if he had to go. I never went back. I had to put the kids to sleep with the CD player going. That wasn't the weird part. It was a recording of their parents basically going, "Molly, you are wonderful. You are a star. You're going to shine bright." That isn't super weird. But it was like several hours long. Apparently they listened to it every night. No hot sauce after 9 PM. Edit. To give some context. The kid loved hot sauce. But his folks were super overprotective. Maybe they had heard of PPL eating too much hot sauce and throwing it up as it would not settle? Honestly, the kid was made of solid steel. We went to Taco Bell pretty much every time I babysat. I love that this became a problem. My mom told me a story of when she used to babysit during her teenage years. She did it for this religious family whose church did not believe in television or their members watching it. She would bring a portable TV with her to watch once the kids were asleep. The parents came home and they were captivated by it. They would invite her over just so they could watch television. Not necessarily a rule, but the first time I went to their house they told me about their daughter's very serious peanut allergy. Walked me through the EpiPen. Prevention. Phone numbers of their neighbors who were doctors, all fine so far. I took this very seriously. But then the mother put her hands on my shoulders and said if she dies we wouldn't blame you. It wouldn't be your fault. Asked me to drive their 3-year-old twins around in my personal vehicle for 2.5 hours because that's the only way they can nap. No. I simply put the kids in their beds. Closed the door. And they were asleep in 15 minutes. Not a rule, but a single mom once told me to use a bat by the door in the event the kid's father comes by and tries to take them. That was pretty weird and uncomfortable. Hippie family. The 2-year-old had no bedtime and no rules. She can eat what she wants. No bedtime. And if she falls asleep, leave her wherever she crashed. The parents came home at 2:30 to a toddler eating chocolate cake on the couch with her preferred American pickers on TV. That's fine apparently. 6 months later the mom is very pregnant and asks that when the baby is born, if I could wrangle the toddler while the mom gives birth in a bathtub at home. The 2-year-old was to be in the room, watching, while I explain what's happening. I left that evening when the parents came home, fried chicken in the toddler's hand, Keeping Up with the Kardashians on TV, and denied their next request to come sit. As a 20-year-old, I wasn't prepared to see the mess of someone else's home birth. I used to babysit for this family when I was in high school, in the 80s, and they had no books or reading material of any kind. Except that there would usually be like 2 sections of the WSJ and a running magazine lying around. No books. Anyway, once I went over there and the mom told me like 9 times, begged me not to eat the box of Nilla wafers that was in the cupboard because she needed them for a recipe the next day. Begged. I was like, okay, got it. They're totally safe because I don't even like vanilla wafers. She kept mentioning it. And it was the first thing she asked me about when they got home. The kids are. Who cares about the kids? Did you keep my Nilla wafers safe? If it was just the kids, I wouldn't have hired you. Your primary duty was to guard my wafers. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the family gave me instructions to let their kids drink chocolate milk, which they were otherwise not allowed to have. I think they wanted their kids to associate babysitter time with fun time, so the parents could go out more often. Seemed to work out well for them. The kids both grew up to be successful people. These kids I babysat a lot for when I was a teenager loved when I came over because we got to watch a movie. Eat frozen pizza, mac and cheese, hot dogs, other fun foods. The daughter was a huge girly girl and the mom was not, so I would usually paint her nails and braid her hair and we'd watch Star Wars, so the son was thrilled. I loved babysitting for them. Babysat for a family that had 3 boys. 1 a newborn. I was never to feed the baby by holding it next to me, but I was to put it on my legs and make eye contact with him at all times. No cuddling. Also, I was never to let the older boys lose any game we were playing. I quit after about a month. Years later I found out that youngest one, the baby that wasn't to be cuddled, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. That's what happens when you have a completely emotionally distant relationship with your children. That time is so essential for development. And without human contact, our brains literally cannot develop properly. Like that should be prosecutable as abuse neglect. To give him warm milk in a baby bottle right after every dinner. He was a fully functional 10-year-old boy. Edit. To answer some of the questions. Yes. He was fine with it. His parents were otherwise normal, as far as I saw. The kid himself was great. His teeth seemed fine from what I can remember, not that I really would have paid attention to that back then. If Brady stands by the door, it just means he needs to go out. Open the door. And let him back inside in a few minutes. Brady was a 4-year-old boy. The mom had me put her kids in their car seats and sit in the driveway with all the car doors open while she just hung out inside the house. 5 hours of me standing in the driveway watching them sit inside their car. Never returned. Edit. I meant I never returned to babysit for her again. Not that the mother mysteriously disappeared. As for people asking why I didn't take them somewhere, she specifically asked me to just sit in the driveway with them. I also didn't have my driver's license yet, so I couldn't have taken them anywhere even if I wanted to. The kids were twins who were 4 years old. I think. They were weirdly well behaved and didn't complain about what we were doing. To this day I have no idea what she was doing inside or why she didn't just let them play in the yard. I am just as confused as you. OMG, thanks for asking because you reminded me of a weird thing. The 3-year-old daughter had to watch this VHS tape of a live Fleetwood Mac concert before bed. I was like, okay, cute. That's adorable. 3-year-olds love the weirdest things. She's so quirky and this will be fun. But she didn't love it. She always wanted to watch Land Before Time instead. But it was always on the note left for me. Like pager number. Pediatrician. Chicken soup for dinner is in fridge and watch Fleetwood Mac at 630 before bed. Obviously the family eventually found out I wasn't making her watch it, as I had no ducking reason to believe it was a secret. They were clearly upset by this and I was never called back to babysit. So that was weird. Should have told them lies. Sweet little lies. Edit. Thanks for the gold and silver, kind strangers. Wasn't a rule. But on my first day they sent over an adult male friend of theirs who asked to come in. I said no. I was then told I was being tested and I had passed. Only 2 hours of reading time. To be fair, the mom was a librarian and her 2 kids were adorably nerdy. They had an entire room filled with books and even then we'd make trips to the library from time to time. The rest of the time was supposed to be outside or doing some activity. It was a super sweet deal too because she paid for not only her kids to have a pool pass but me as well. So we basically went every day all summer and we would play in the pool. One had me feed her 1-year-old only from a freshly opened baby food container. If she only ate 2 or 3 spoonfuls, I was to throw it away, and when she wanted more in 15 minutes I was to open a new one. I thought it was so she would finish her meal and be full for a while. But she said it was okay to feed her every time she wanted it. I would probably throw away 5 or 6 jars in a 2-hour sitting. It cost more than I usually made for sitting. Not babysitter, but my friend was 24 and his parents asked him to watch their house while they were gone. They left a list of rules and instructions. It was on a laminated paper and looked like something for a 10-year-old. He was not allowed to answer the door, and if someone kept knocking he was to call the cops. The mother asked me to stop by the house to meet her 2-year-old son a week before I was supposed to babysit him for the first time. I pulled up to the house and saw that the young boy was standing at the glass front door with a t-shirt on and nothing else. I go in and I must have given the child a strange look because the mom started to explain that her son doesn't like to wear pants, so they let him run around pantsless with no diaper on. Though he isn't potty trained. I told her that this made me uncomfortable and asked if I could put pants on him when I was watching him. And she got upset with me and said they don't like to make their 2-year-old son do anything he doesn't like to do, so they let him run around without pants on. Which unfortunately means he goes to the bathroom on the floor since he won't wear a diaper and he isn't potty trained. Best recipe to raise well-functioning adults. If the kids misbehaved, I was encouraged to spank them with a paddle they had. Then make them write their names on it. Another family was perfectly normal until bedtime. Then I had to give the 5-year-old girl a bottle. Put her in a diaper. Then cuddle with her until she fell asleep. Like I said, everything else about her and the family was normal. But at bedtime I basically had to treat her like an infant. God, this sounds so unhealthy. I used to regularly babysit one of my younger cousins. At nap time I had to put her in a zip-up pajama with feet. I then had to duct tape the zipper down and duct tape the wrists in a way that wasn't restricting, but she couldn't pull her hands into her onishi. If I didn't do this, she would pull her hands in and dig in her diaper. Always. My aunt got tired of cleaning poop-covered walls regularly. My daughter painted a few times. I just started putting her pajamas on backwards, so she couldn't reach the zipper. Edit. Whoa. My first silver. So many people to thank. Starting with my little Picasso. The kid couldn't have dessert if she didn't finish her dinner. Problem was she was about 4 or 5 and dinner was 2 cheeseburgers and sides. She ate half of one and. When I was a kid I got paid $75 a week to watch 2 boys over a summer. It was amazing money. But the dad was a big bounter. And he made loads of deer chili. And he insisted that his 10-year-old and 2-year-old eat tons of it. They loved it. But the 2-year-old would take these massive, awful, horrible, nasty chili shits constantly. The dad explained all this to me. And my instructions were to just put him in the shower and hose him down. I was offered plenty of chili but never ate any. Don't tickle the kids. Don't let them tickle each other. They were boys 8 and 10. Apparently they were getting erections while tickling each other and it ended in some aggressive wrestling. I was babysitting a 3-4-ish yo girl and a 18-mo boy. The boy had to be carried in a buggy. Which is all very well. But I was supposed to add some kind of mini stairs, 2 steps, on the back of it so the girl could stand on it because her legs get tired, said parents while making quotation marks with their fingers. The damn thing hit my legs every time I took a step. That kid was also taught to not wait and look for restrooms when she needed to go and proceeded one time to take a shitty in a public garden and wipe herself with a leaf with an ease that certified me that wasn't her first time. Don't let the children play with the non-believers. They were a super Christian family that I babysat for a few times. One time the children were looking out the window at the neighbors playing and I asked if they wanted to go outside and play. And I shit you not. This little 5-year-old looks me in the eyes and says we can't. They are not of God. So ducking creepy. I wasn't asked back after I accidentally said oh my gosh one time. Okay. So I thought it was weird. But after reading through these posts. Yikes. Anyway. When I was a kid. There was a mom who would only allow her kids to do art on Tuesdays. I never learned why it was only one day or why it was Tuesday. But she totally flipped out one day when we did it on the wrong day. Refused to let their kids eat raw veggies for absolutely no reason. They never told me this. So I gave the kids ages 5-7 raw, washed and cut broccoli with some ranch for a snack. They were happily eating as the mom was getting ready for a party. She walked by, saw the kids eating the broccoli, took it from them, microwaved it and said they like it much better this way. The kids did not like it better and even they thought it was weird. I was then instructed to never give them raw veggies. I could understand if they were toddlers still learning to chew. But these kids were plenty old enough to chew broccoli florets without choking. When they heard me sing, asked me not to sing to the kids. Not allowed to serve her kid food that was heated in the microwave. Also, she never told me this until after I babysat her and berated me for it. How was I supposed to know? Guess I ruined that child. That same lady would give me a list of chores to complete too. How am I supposed to watch your kid and vacuum your house? Edit. I had to use a rock to trace the ABCs on the kid's back so he could fall asleep. Mother. Our children, 6, 4, 1, are vegetarian. Please respect that. Father. Once the mother has gone upstairs. Sorry. But they are my kids. 2. If they want meat, it's because they probably need it. There is a fridge in my workshop. I can certainly see that marriage lasting. In bed by 10:43. The neighbor I babysat for, when I was around 12, had 4 rambunctious boys. The youngest, who was probably 2 or 3, was locked in a dog crate under the kitchen counter when I arrived. She told me to leave him there until they returned, which would have been 4 or 5 hours later. I let him out immediately and called my mom saying that I wanted to call the police because I thought that was super abusive. The crate was too small for him to stretch out in. My mom said no and so I never did. I also never went back there. To this day I feel guilty and wonder what else those boys endured. You were 12. Don't feel guilty. You alerted your mom to something serious and she should have taken you seriously. When the kids proved to me they finished their homework, their treat was 15 minutes of TV and a stick of gum. They were not to watch any more TV. Told me that under no circumstances could the kid use the restroom because he was grounded. Obviously I ignored this. Later it was discovered his father physically and sexually abused him. He was a prominent member of a large religious community in the town. So it shocked us. Edit. A lot of the replies are having some misconceptions about the religion of the mentioned person. The man was an imam at a local and very popular mosque in our community. Just let the kid be right. We believe in his achievement. He's ducking 5 and wants to kick your lapdog around the house. No. We're doing it my way today. Babysat twice for them. They asked me to spoon feed their 3-year-old. He was perfectly capable of eating by himself. Yet they fed him like that until he was 5. I also interviewed for a family that had twins and they were still sleeping in cribs at 3 years old. The mother wanted me to hand wash their socks and underwear. No thank you. Mom was a-okay with girls aged 7 and 9 watching Grease every day, leading the girls to ask over lunch one day what a hooker was. Mom was not okay with them watching Disney's Hercules, as it centered around gods other than the one true. My mom wouldn't let me watch Hercules for the same reason. Also, Little Mermaid was also off the question because a friend's daughter would scream whenever Ursula came on screen. So obviously she was demonic. Harry Potter was off limits because witchcraft. Pokemon was off limits because we don't know where they get their powers. Therefore it must be the devil. All manner of things were off limits because they were too dumb or didn't show respect to adults. Which included most of Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, or Cartoon Network. Which pretty much left just the news and documentaries. Which is fine, I guess. I think it might have been a contributing factor to me being stiff and uptight when I was little. There was an order in which we had to go up and down the stairs. Semicolon. My sister babysat and wasn't allowed to leave. The parents refused to drive her home until she did all the dishes that were there from the family before she showed up to babysit. She was pissed when that same family tried to get me to babysit. They were pissed I refused to, but I'm not a ducking maid for hire. You can't just make a 14-year-old clean your house because you hired them to watch your kids for an evening. I'm a professional nanny and one of the families I worked for had a strict no games rule. Not as in video games, but as in any game that could have a winner and a loser. No board games. No tag. Nothing. Winning and losing led to hurt feelings was their explanation. I'd have to stop the girls anytime they said something like I bet I can get to the end of the driveway faster and remind them mom and dad say no competition. Remember? Everything had to be perfectly equal or the parents would lose it completely. I fired them as clients shortly after. I was told not to read a story to a little kid who was 4. Their reasoning was if I read it he would not learn to read. Like WTF. I still read stories to my brother who is 8, he wants me to, and he is one of the best readers. Only let the kids have one piece of Halloween candy. It was April. One piece a day will make that candy last through August. Not to clean. Like even the dishes after feeding him, 6 years. Or his toys. He didn't have to either. Just struck me as odd. Edit. This got bigger. But I did address some of the common replies so. I think that one is from experience. I had a sitter once who spent the day cleaning, the house wasn't dirty. But I guess she wanted to go the whole 9 yards like cleaning under the stove top. Anyway. While she's cleaning up the house. The 1-year-old is getting into everything and is basically unwatched. Afterwards. I asked if she wanted a job as a house cleaner instead, she actually said no. Go figure. Years ago I was a nanny and the mom told me that they didn't use the word no. Instead to redirect the child when they were doing things that weren't nice. Basically think of PC principles mom and you've got my former boss. Couldn't say the kid was doing something bad etc. As most of you parents and babysitters can imagine he was a perfect little demon. The day I quit was when he took a knife off the counter and tried to stab me with it. For his safety and mine I grabbed it away in which set off the fattest and most spoiled tears you've ever heard. I explained to my boss that I could no longer watch the child because redirecting him to calmly lay down the steak knife was a job for a police officer and a hostage situation. Not a minimum wage college student. Oh god, this is my time to shine. I babysat for this family for the first time ever and the mother was walking me around the house. Giving me instructions and showing me around and then stopped at the fridge. She explained to me that when I sent her son to bed, I was to give him one hot dog out of the fridge. No heating it. No bun. Just a cold soggy hot dog for her son to munch on in bed. Apparently he ate one every night. This was like 7 years ago and I seriously haven't stopped thinking about it.